Coming to you live again from Oak Island, North Carolina, and it's time for another Technical Tuesday, live from the beach, because why not? Anyhow, I have my trusty notes here on my iPad. My little mini, my old phone died. Tech problem, stupid. Should I call, right? Anyhow, I want to pivot this week, talk a little bit about something that is not something that we sell, cyber liability insurance. I know it's boring. Drop the Salmonex now, right? So we usually talk about AI and automation, cybersecurity, but pretty much going to dwell mostly on cyber liability insurance. And it came up this week just because we haven't talked about it in a bit. And honestly, folks kind of pay attention to these things that are going on. AI gets off the buzz. I like to talk about AI. It's fun to play with AI. But bring stuff is, reality, right? It's time for a reality check. Lots of small businesses have insurance for, theft, fire, or damage, et cetera. Uh, but a lot of businesses don't have cyber liability insurance. Small businesses under 25 million per year. Only 17% of businesses, so it's limited in five, like almost actually like 1 in 6 have it. So it's something you should seriously consider. And I know people are like just another person pay out, right? Whatever. But honestly, you're 67% more likely to experience a cyber incident than you are to have to file a death claim for theft. 5 times more likely to have this file a cyber liability claim than you are fire, right? People get fire insurance or insurance to cover fire. They don't get cyber liability. It's a 5x, right? And yeah, fire can damage and destroy your business. But so cyber liability attacks, right? You know, 50% of all claims for cyber liability breaches come from businesses under 25 million in revenue. So that's probably you. There's a chance that's your clients because small businesses tend to have small business clients, just like we do. Um, you know, if you guys understand what happened, have a breach. Basically, there's usually a forensic investigation if you go to make a claim. Don't make a claim, they can do whatever you want, I guess. As long as none of your vendors or none of your clients depend accounting of what happened. The other thing people don't talk about, it's, if you get breached, unless your client's problem, right? They're going to wonder what's going on. That's another reason to make sure you're good in cybersecurity. There's breach notification costs. By the way, you have to pay those regardless. If you have a big enough breach in a state of Illinois, you have to pay it and notify the state. It's 30 days. It used to be 90. I think it might have been 30. It's not 90 because people were complaining that 30 wasn't enough time to figure out when they notified the state. Depending on how the breach goes, same you already know, that's always embarrassing, isn't it? So, credit monitoring for customers, if they were to get any type of personal information of your clients and your employees, by the way, legal fees, you can be regulatory fines. Again, the state of North Carolina fines you. The federal government can also fine you. You're in the benefit bill. Basically, the person you're guilty until proven innocent. So, if you have HIPAA concerns, you should definitely have cyber liability insurance because basically the federal government uses it as a breach. So, and I can tell you this right now, I do lots of medical practices and really pay as much attention to talk about it. Whatever. Because they won't get caught. If you have a breach, yeah, you're caught. So you're being for that reason. So violation insurance. For that reason too. There's going to be recovering data restoration costs. There to be filed breach it's going to happen. And of course, there's going to be business interruption costs, right? I've seen small incidences, small breaches where business was inconvenienced. We've had this happen. They were out for hours. Figure out what's going on. It was the end of the day, right? So they got lucky. It was, I think, 3:30 applications. They were able to take steps to remediate it. Now, of course, this was several years ago. The same cyber protections we do now. But yeah, so those are some costs you have to think about. If you're hit with ransomware, which they do sometimes now, they don't always. Average claim is about 485,000. So most small businesses don't have that cash. Now, the good news is most of the crooks realize how much money you may or may not have because they got into all your financials, and they also usually know how much insurance you have, which is a chilling thought, isn't it? So they know what you can afford to pay when they ask for it. Here's the thing: cyber criminals, they get in, they don't just launch an attack immediately. That's not how. What they do is they do something called lurking, which people might do on the internet anyway, right? They sit around, they look at what other people are doing, scope out what their posts are like, etc. That's what the crooks do. They lurk, they check your emails, how those work, who you might be talking to. Is there somebody upstream from you that they could use, you could reach into, who's more lucrative, right? That's a great one. They look at all your files, they look at your insurance policies to see if you have your liability insurance. Get them paid, they want to get paid, right? So they exfiltrate that data first, and then they hit you with ransomware. Then they lock you out of your systems, right? And they threaten you typically not just with unlocking your files. There's a lot of people that have backups. Not everybody does. A lot of people do. And what they will do is threaten to expose your data to the world, including all your clients and customers, that they got the data from, right? And blackmailing you, paying. Because it's kind of embarrassing and it can actually cause legal troubles. So I'm not here to sell you cyber liability insurance. I'm not allowed to sell you cyber liability insurance. Talk to your insurance agent. If you don't know what you should get, that's something we can consult with, or we can get other agents who we have relationships with to get you the best policy for your business. But they're going to send you an application, right? And applications aren't simple anymore. Not that they ever were. They're not that complicated, really, but they are very techy. So if you're not a tech person, you could be saying yes to things that you have no idea that you're saying yes to. You should be. And when it's time to file a claim, because let's face it, insurance is in business to collect premiums, deny claims. That's how they make more money, right? They're going to go through that checklist and look over your setup and your environment, make sure that you weren't lying either intentionally or not unintentionally about how your environment's set up. So, they're not just asking about do you have firewalls. You have to prove it. You have documentation, screenshots, policies, photos, the whole deal. Right? You're no longer going to just say yes. I'm just going to cut you a check. Those days are long. Insurance companies paid out way too much before COVID. 2017, 16, 2018, those years, and they learned their lessons. Right? They used to cover this type of stuff under general liability. They didn't do that anymore. If you have a cyber event, you have to have a cyber liability. There's no getting around it. I have seen clients where they had a cyber fighter, but it was for like $75,000, which sounds great until you realize I just told you that the average ransomware was $485,000. Right? And that the average overall claim is like $300. You didn't have a cyber, so or ransomware event. So $50,000 to $75,000 better than nothing, but that still leaves you short $300,000 to $400,000 an average event. Now these are averages for smaller companies, right? $25 million less. This isn't counting the big business throwing off the numbers where, oh yeah, these guys got, they got hosed for $100 million, so that took the average way up for you math nerds, right? These are smaller businesses who are getting hit with this. So, you figure $500,000 on a $25 million company, that's 2% of their revenue for the year. I probably would have a hard time going up instantly with 2% of my revenue for the year. So, right. Things that they're going to want to make sure that you have. MFA, two-factor authentication. Very boring. Two-factor authentication is another name. You need it on email. You need it on VPNs. That's usually a checkbox. If you have it, you have to check yes. If not, you have to apply. They may give you a policy, ratio policy. If you say no, they may not. There's a high probability they will, right? They all demand that you have, university call it endpoint detection and response. It's really fancy antivirus, right? So, and typically, I think when the policies talking about managed antivirus or managed endpoint detection, someone is responsible for looking it over. And normally that's someone like my company, an MSP, that they expect you to have. I've actually seen that question policy. Do you have an IT provider, external IT? They expect a yes answer, or they might not cover you. Or if they do cover you, the premiums are going to be large because, let's face it, you don't know what you're doing, and you have a higher probability of screwing it up. So they're going to increase your rates because of it, right? It's like different between a teen driver and somebody who's 35, right? You've got the experience. You know, you're the teenage driver in this example. So if you don't have teen drivers, lucky you, I do. It's they want to know if you have backups, and they're going to know if they're immutable, which means they can't be changed. Right? Make sure that they're offsite and premise only. So the days of taking having hard drives attached and backing up to those is gone. And by the way, here's a secret: the bad guys know what your backup system is, and they will try to disable it if it all works. If you use hard drives that you rotate and take off site, right? Yeah, the bad guys have been encrypting those every time you use them. Just so your backups are you could have set one up for yourself. That's fine. You need to make sure you've got patch management in place. So that means Microsoft Office, so Windows, Mac OS, same thing. Adobe Suite, QuickBooks, etc. Any of these programs, once they issue a patch, they basically just told the bad guys how to get into the system, right? Well, they told the bad guys that there's a hole to be able to get into the system. And there's normally a little bit of information about how it works. They do these things. So you always want to make sure you're patching. So those are the ones they're going to hit first. They're going to hit the newest ones first, and they're going to try to hit as many as possible. You don't patch on a regular basis. That's one of the biggest tricks to hacking is scanning servers, looking to see if they're patched. If they're not, then you can to exploit those vulnerabilities. Again, we've mentioned firewalls. You need to make sure you've got a good firewall. Most of our clients don't have servers on site anymore, so we don't punch holes through anymore. Very strict about what comes in. Probably the same for your company, but they do mean something that's monitored, managed, logged. So you can't just use the AT&T firewall that came with your fiber. You can't use the modem from Spectrum that came with your fiber, Xfinity, Comcast, or whoever your internet service provider is. You really need your own firewall that you monitor and patch. For email security, you definitely have to have spam filtering, right? You could also do virus filtering. Ideally, you can do sandbox, which is you can take the email, you can open it up in a secure environment, virtual environment, and click on things. Drills of automation and AI, and see if things blow up, right? If they do, they deliver to you. They expect you to have an incident response plan or an IRP. So that's something that they want written. They don't want just figured out or call IT or MSP. That's usually not an incident response plan. They also want you to talk about vendor management sometimes. Use assurances from your MSPs that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Cloud applications, your CRM, ERPs, your QuickBooks Online, whatever the case may be, Microsoft, where they've got information readily available. Let's see, what are we using further? So what I really want you to take away from this is if you're running a small business with a cyber liability insurance, you're literally one fishing email away. Not 300K the problem, 300,000 plus, right? The insurance market is tightening every year because again, you don't like making payouts. So they put more things in place and hopefully so that you can get happy. You should really talk to your MSP about cyber insurance requirements. And then you should talk to your insurance guy about cyber liability insurance. Okay? It's way cheaper. Get a policy where you got yeses to everything instead of no's to some things. And there's higher probability that you'll actually get issued a policy too, right? So again, can't tell you cyber life. That's the point of this is wake up. You're twice as likely to need it more than that. 5 times more likely to need it. Why don't you have? I get pushed back a lot of times from people, right? It's just want people to think about it is, you know, the spring day still here in Carolina. They have much better things to do. Liability insurance to be, but just want to make sure you guys are staying safe. Hopefully, it's been educational. I do not believe I will be doing this next week from the beach. You actually have to. So hopefully, I'll be on time at 12:30, which is my normal time. Tuesdays, as opposed to 6:30, which is apparently beach time. I hear rumored that there's such a thing as beach time. So, final reminder: cyber scared starts with you. Hope you have a great week. Get out, enjoy the weather if it's at all possible where you're living. Enjoy spring while spring is here in North Carolina. It comes and goes, and just jump right into summer. Kind of digging it. Talk to you next week. Ciao.